All right. Thank you, Mr. McDewey and Cowboy Cast. I remembered your name this time, Cowboy. Either way, Princeton, I want to be the first to congratulate you on what was a dominant victory into that second game there, especially on the Yone. You definitely came through and played it absolutely phenomenal in the face of what was, my apologies, Divine Ascension Ruby.
Well, thank you very much.
So I'll start things off here. We'll talk about game one or even just coming into it. What was your general thoughts being matched up into what was Omega Gaming Unleashed there? I'm just curious what your kind of assessment was of this team before you even got into the games.
So after the rough week one start for us, we kind of took a step back and looked at what kind of comps we were picking and how we wanted to play the game. And so we went into the first game thinking, we would play some Senna, some like normal Senna stuff, but that's kind of what we've been practicing the past week or so, because we think we can just outscale. But after game one, which was pretty sloppy from us, and like we kind of got to a point where we were able to scale up, it just didn't work too well. Instead on the second game, we just decided we would just play more hyper aggressive, and hopefully that'll work out.
Hey, fantastic. I think it definitely showed tonight.
And I just have a question for you. Again, fantastic play, especially in game number 2. Especially when games get really hectic. Like game number 1, I would say was completely back and forth, and it felt like momentum was switching all the time. How do you guys kind of reorganize yourself in situations like that? And who is on that team really making those shot calls that you guys kind of focus in, especially when things are getting so hectic?
Yeah, so I would say that in the middle of team fights, I do a lot of the calling, but when it comes to like more of the big brain macro stuff, it's definitely our jungler. Like in game number 2, when we made that play, we eventually found that like walking into the Maokai saplings was doing a lot of damage to us, and we weren't able to set up for the fights correctly. So we just completely ignored that, and we went for like the mid push instead, which the bait ended up, they ended up taking the bait and trying to go for us, and we got a really good fight out of it.
Right. And to kind of pull back towards game one there, I'm curious, you especially on the Irelia had a huge impact kind of leveling the playing field on that Zillion, but wasn't quite able to come all the way to fruition playing off of Fallen Artemis to take him down. Was that one of the Maycorn structures that kind of led to y'all's defeat in game one, or was it something else?
I think a lot of game one had to do with me psyching myself out. I played a lot of respect to the Fiddlesticks being around my lane, but I think he was really focusing bot side, and I should have played more aggressive on the Zillion. I think that was really what came of like not pressuring the Zillion pick more.
Right. Well, you definitely pressured it, the Galio into game 2.
Going into game 2 then, how do you really reorganize your guys' self, especially when it feels like fight after fight? Because again, you are in such a big advantage. It looked like team fights were going to just be super easy for you because you were just almost steamrolling them. And then after that third Dragon Soul fight, or the first Dragon Soul fight that you guys attempted, where you guys couldn't really get the flank off, they were able to kind of pick apart different sections of it. How do you really reorganize the team, and when it feels like you're kind of going downhill and it looks like the momentum's about to turn?
Yeah, well, the first thing we do when like we lose a fight like that, we immediately assess like what went wrong and what we're doing incorrectly. Because obviously losing a fight when I assume we were probably up a ton of gold at that point, golden XP, like losing a fight that bad should not be happening. So first thing we had to do was assess what was going wrong, and then once we kind of figured out that a lot of our ultis weren't on off CD during that fight. We were walking into the Maokai, which is kind of rough. Maybe we pulled the trigger too fast, and we just kind of had to go backwards and decided, okay, maybe we need to be playing the fights a little more differently. What should we do next?
Right.
Yeah,
and I definitely think it came. Oh, go ahead.
And that, again, that reorganization of the fights was really big because eventually you guys were able to really figure out. Again, you guys all knew that the Kai'Sa was the main damage dealer, but you guys were really able to figure it out, get the damage onto her, really finish her off. And in terms of other teams in the league, obviously you had a 1-3 start. You faced probably the 2 best teams in the league, and you're kind of looking to rebound. Who are some other teams that you're looking around the league that you think that you can challenge and really make a stamp of your name in this league?
I'm definitely looking forward to the Glaive Rose match we have in a couple weeks. Always had a really good time playing against them and their mid laner, who I think is really good. And I definitely want to play against the two teams we played the first week and kind of get my revenge on them. You know, the AOE squad and the MCE squad. And I also want to try to see how we would go against the other AOE squad now that the second one is coming, the sister roster.
Yeah, you gotta kick both. Just kick both rosters down. Put it both to. Don't worry.
One is not enough for my man Princeton. He needs to make sure they are all beneath him. All right. Well, Princeton, do you have any shout outs here before we send you on your way?
Yeah, I want to shout out my boy Ivar, and I want to shout out all my teammates on Omega, as well as our coaches, Ray and Toad.
Awesome. Well, thank you once again for joining us here in the casting booth. We appreciate the interview. You were absolutely lovely.
All right. Thank you.